Okay, please, is my screen, is it visible? Okay. Is it better? Okay. 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 Um, Good evening, everyone, once again. I would be, like the host already introduced, my name is Amir Saeed. Um, I work as a data scientist at MTN Nigeria. What this means is that my daily job and speaks to finding ways to drive revenue and retain customers, basically, irrespective of the only thing is that I just use AI to do that. But the goal is basically to drive customer, revenue, make them do more, make them use more, and find a way to ensure that we don't lose these customers, basically. So today I'll be speaking on Churn. Right. So what exactly is Tron? Different businesses actually have their definition of what Tron is or what it means. However, from the broad definition, you can say Tron is when a customer decides or a customer does not use, buy, or subscribe to your products or services over a period of time. So, for example, if you are speaking to, say, a company like Netflix, Tron definition for Netflix could be a customer that did not renew their subscription or has not subscribed, for a couple of months. They would say that that customer has Tron. For, say, maybe a banking sector, they could say if you've not transacted in the last 1 year, or you came to close your account in the last 1 year, within that year, it means you've churned. So different companies, different definition of what churn means. So without further ado, let's go to the next slide. So within the next hour, we'll be covering whatever it is we'll be going through would be within this roadmap. So the first thing we'll be looking at is the hidden cost of churn. So you losing customer over time might feel negligible, but it silently takes away your revenue. It eats away your revenue. And over time, it compounds, right? So the first month might not be bad, but when it keeps happening time and time over a period of time, you start to notice that, hey, I've lost a lot of money. And at that time, it's difficult to try to investigate where that leakage came from. So proactively monitoring churn is very important. The retention math rather. What does this mean? Keeping a customer beats chasing new ones. Now that's where most of us get it wrong. We focus all our energy of acquiring more customers, but what is most important is the ones you've acquired. What have you done with them? They are the ones that will provide value to you over time. So take for example, you have a company. Let's look at it from a staff perspective. You employ staffs, and your staffs are churning, right? But you feel, oh, because the market is saturated, you can always get new talents. You don't worry so much about your staff welfare. You depend on getting new staffs, even though you're having high turnover. What that means is that there's a lot of cost that goes into that. The process of having to go through interviews for new people, process of when they come in, they have to learn on the job, all of that erodes value for you as a company rather than a staff that has stayed for, say, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That staff has actually provided more value to you than the staff that you want to acquire. Same thing goes for customers. Better to keep your customers. I'm not saying don't chase new customers, but keep your customers. Focus on the ones you already have and how to extract more value from them. And the third thing will be, why do customers really leave? There are two major reasons. There's the voluntary churn and there's the involuntary churn, right? Though we focus on the voluntary churn. As we go by, I would explain what the involuntary churn is and how we can mitigate this. Now, predicting churn with AI and data. Now, that this is where artificial intelligence comes in. To what this basically does is tells you while the customer is still very active, it can tell you that even though this customer is active now, within a certain period of time, you have tendency to lose this customer. So that means that you can quickly start to engage before it gets too late. Now, proving reduction is strategic. So, how do you move the retention numbers? Basically, how do you ensure that your retention number, the number of customers you are retaining, increases, right? And of course, the playbook that you as a business or individual can start using from this week, basically. So that is what this roadmap will cover. Please let me go to the next slide. Now, churn itself. Now, basically, churn is a silent revenue killer, like I already explained, and it is basically a leak. So let me walk you through what you would call a customer life cycle. So you acquire a customer, right? A customer is healthy. You acquire the customer. You work on retaining the customer. You work on growing that customer, and at peradventure the cost retention does not work. The customer churns. You work on bringing back that customer, but what we don't know is that churn is the beginning of which helps block leakages. Before you think of bringing in more money, block the money that you are currently leaking. It's just like trying to pour water into a broken bucket. The bucket is broken. Yes, you are bringing in more water into it, but you are losing value. You are losing value. So how do we block this? So look at this. According to Bain and Company, a Harvard Business Review retention research, it states that for the average company, it's 5 times more expensive to acquire one new customer than to retain one, because you have to engage, the salespeople have to engage, even the manpower it takes the salespeople to always go after these customers, convincing them to leave especially if you are playing in a competitive space, leave the organization or company they're already using, trying to convince them why you are better. All that, it's not a joke. So once you already have a customer, try to retain that customer. So it's definitely 5 times more expensive. 67% of a company revenue typically comes from existing customers. While you chase the new customers, what value are you actualizing from the ones you already have? Are they just there? Are you just stacking them up for volume alone but no value? And a 5% boost in retention can actually boost your profit from 25% to as high as 90%, depending on the business model you run. So it is very, very important. And there's a caveat here. Yes, it can boost your profits, but over time, it's a time game. It will not boost your profit overnight or next month. It's a game of time. But if you consistently focus on customer retention, it will definitely compound and translate to business value for you as a business. Um, Acquisition is expensive, retention is leverage, basically. So what this means is that growth does not only come from new companies. You have to look within. Existing customers convert faster. What that means is that when a customer is already in your base, trusts you, has been using some services, it is easier to convince that customer to take up more services. So here's what I'm saying. If a customer is already in using, for example, I'm looking for the company to use, say for example, customer is already in the Netflix space, it is easier to convince that customer to open more profiles, to encourage them to watch more. It's easier to encourage them to download the mobile app, right? In the bank space, it's easier to sell your other products to your existing customer because they already have some trust in you, rather than a new customer that you've not really proven yourself to. How do you now want to sell to that customer? So it's easier to you know extract more value from existing customers. Now, retention compounds. This is just echoing what I had said earlier. Over time, the lifetime value, LTV means lifetime value. The lifetime value of your customer will definitely increase if you are serving them well and you focus on retention, meaning that it is easier to cross sell and upsell to them. And they can also refer you. And what that does is that now you are not the one doing the sales, your customers are the ones selling on your behalf. Now, so it's not just about retention, is not just about maximizing value only within those customers. They can also help you bring in new value, right? And then you start to expand in revenue. Um, okay. So this is where we spoke about voluntary churn and involuntary churn. So basically, not all churn is created equally. What does this mean? So, a voluntary churn is a churn that happens when a customer decides to live on their own, right? So, that could be that maybe they are dissatisfied with your product or the service you are offering, or say, a company is offering better value for the service that you are providing. Right. So that is why it is also very important as a business to also engage in market research. See what your competitors are doing. Don't don't get too comfortable with the numbers you are pulling in terms of revenue or profits. Look at the other businesses. Have they, maybe the last time you did your research, you were offering the best value in the market, but if the market changes fast, you never can tell. Maybe a few months, couple of months down the line, your competitors have come up with a better strategy than you. And as a customer, you know, you are not my father's company, basically. So if I get better value from another company, I am definitely going to go there. I have no reason to stay with you. So it's basically who gives me the best values for the company. And as you can see, these days you can see the gap between the fintechs and the traditional banks right now. People are giving more loyalty towards the fintechs than the traditional banks because they are getting, in quotes, better value according to them than what possibly what the traditional bank is currently offering them. So these are some of the repercussions of not doing your market research. Or perhaps another point is maybe at the time you launched a product, it was offering value to your customers. But after some time, times have changed. They just don't really see value in what you're offering anymore. So that could also make them churn. And price sensitivity, budget cuts. So these are two different things. So for price sensitivity, it's tied to better value found by a competitor, meaning that they can't just justify the price of the value they are getting anymore. Maybe it's become too expensive for them and they just, zone out. As something similar happened to multi-choice, as you can see. And I think the way they tried to combat it way back then was to introduce what you call Go TV. And even at that, it seems that there's still a struggle for them down the line. So price sensitivity, very important. Budget cuts. It could also be that your price is right, your product is right, it keeps providing value, but maybe the economy is not just friendly anymore and people are trying to cut their budget. So what that means is that it automatically translates to, even though they find value in what you are providing, they simply can't afford to spend that much anymore. So what they do is that they try to look for cheaper alternatives. Might not be the give them as much value as what you were giving them, but you know something that just fits the budget really, and that could also lead to churn. Now, that is all about voluntary churn. For involuntary churn, you have what you call the failed or expired payment methods. For example, a customer wants to subscribe to your app. They are having maybe renew their subscription through your app, and they're having um, payment problems. Maybe your app, your APIs or your app is down. So they can't pay, and automatically they might not just come back anymore because they're already stressed. Or maybe their billing errors, or maybe the invoices you give them is not consistent. They can't just make meaning to what you are charging them for. Or maybe you are not transparent with your change, and they just don't feel that you are being transparent enough. That could also lead to involuntary churn. technical issues, and silent expiration for some people. And that is why if you use services like, say, maybe Apple services or Google services, you would see that even before the date, your expiry date, they keep sending you reminders. Now, it's very important as a company to always don't neglect your existing customers. Send them reminders if their payment is about to, and let them know before the due date. Because once you don't do that, it keeps their mind. Everyone is busy. So they might not just renew it, and maybe months down the line, they remember, oh, this service, I missed this service. Let me just go and subscribe. Or maybe they just don't bother anymore. So it's very important to send reminders to avoid involuntary churn. So why do customers really live from the life cycle journey perspective? So you onboard customers, right? Meaning that you see a customer, you onboard the customer, and they just don't, the value you're offering doesn't just click. As a business, sometimes we might focus too much on the money we want to bring into our business from customers, but we don't look at the value we provide from the customer's lens, from the customer's point of view. It helps to take a step back as a business owner and put yourself in a customer's seat. If if I wanted to do business with this organization, now what value are they going to give me that would justify how much they are charging me or they want from me for that value? If you cannot answer that question as a business owner from a customer's perspective, then you would face situations whereby you bring in customers, but after a bit of time they leave again because they just don't see value. And there's also the poor support experience. A lot of organizations struggle with customer support. A customer doesn't like a service or having challenges with your service, and they call you, and for some reason they can't get through to you, or you don't pick on time because you have too many calls going on. Basically they don't feel respected. That's the word. And they just churn because they are not getting the joy they want, even though your value or your product is good. Now, low product engagement. So usage quietly declines before a customer formally cancels. So what that means is that if you are not cross-selling this customer, the customer keeps using this product day in, day out, day in, day out. You are not telling the customer that, look, I have other nice products that I think you might actually like, that based on your usage so far, I think you would see more value with this other product. So you are not engaging them. And that could lead to a silent churn, especially if they are getting better value from competitors. Because as you are aggressively looking for customers, your competitors are also aggressively looking for customers. You should be aware of that. Price to value, we've spoken about that. Wrong fit customers. So basically, you are acquiring customers because you just want to have customers. Are you acquiring the customers that actually align with what you sell or your vision as an organization? So what that means is that, are you just getting customers because you just want to have a customer base and sell things to people that will not really value what you are selling because they are not necessarily your target audience? So you have to do your research and find out that majority of the customers that you are trying to bring in or you are trying to retain are customers that actually fit your business model, right? And no early warning system for you as a business. When a customer starts to show a pattern of maybe declining usage or revenue or whatever other metrics you are using to judge, there's nothing that alerts you as a business that this customer is declining. What happens is all of a sudden the customer just disappears. So no one sees these risks. So these are some of the reasons why your customer might leave as a business. Now, what does unmanaged churn really cost you? It's not just the loss in subscription, right? So when a customer leaves, this is what happens to you as a business. Your future upsell, the products that you would have upsold to them, they've taken it away. Referrals, the ability to refer other people to you, they've taken it away. And what that does is that for your next acquisition, you have to work hard, much harder to replace that customer that left. So for every one customer that has left, you have to work 5 times more, or even more than that, to actually get a customer like that back. So, what is breaking this down? Loss of recurring revenue. So, what happens is that when a customer leaves, that revenue they give you, maybe monthly or weekly, depending on your subscription, stops. It disappears, right? Now, to upsell, the potential to upsell also disappears. So, high blended CAC. CAC means customer acquisition cost. You must acquire more customers to stay flat. That's what it means because of that cost, the cost of applying. So you have to keep acquiring new customers to balance out that cost of acquiring customers. Now, reputation drag, what you don't know is that even though they take away the referral, they might actually want people to stay off you from your company. So that's another very important danger to customer churn. Once a customer churns, there's also the risk of, oh boy, don't do business with that organization anymore. They are not it. Why don't you try this competitor? They are giving much better. What that does is that is ruining your business, whether you like it or not. So these are some of the implications of joking with customer retention and focusing all your energy on I'm just acquiring, but you are losing your base. So I'm sorry, I am a data scientist, so I would definitely bring in AI into this, right? Because it helps you spot these signals very early before they start to leave or before you start to get into trouble. So what are the things that AI would need to work? Basically, it needs to collect signals. So when I say signals, I'm talking about usage, billing, net promoter score. Net promoter score, which is NPS, it speaks to net promoter score speaks to how the customers or how people perceive your organization. Basically, what is your what do they think about you? The higher your brand or the value of your brand, the less probability that you are going to churn, give or take. And what are the engagement trends? Have you engaged them in the past? What has the outcome been like? These are some of the signals that the AI model or ML model would need to work with. And then it would, based on all of these signals, it would assign a risk, a score risk. So what that means is that each customer that is defined as at risk of churn has a score because they are not all equal. So it will score them anywhere between 0 to 100%. So basically, you want to focus on customers that are very high. The risk of churn is very high. Also, for most businesses, it shouldn't just be about risk. So what that means is that segment and prioritize. What that means is that a customer can be rated as, say, maybe 80% likely to churn, but in reality, the revenue that you stand to lose, the value of that customer might not really be, worth the stress or the cost of retaining that customer as compared to someone that is, say, maybe 60% likely to churn, but the money you stand to lose from those people, let me say the value, don't let me say money, the value you stand to lose from those people, those set of people are very high. So it's not just about prioritizing, oh, this person has 90% risk, so I must campaign to this person or I must chase this person. You also need to take care that the guy that has 60%, the money that is on the table is, in fact, is maybe equivalent to 50%, 50 maybe like 50% of people that are already on 90%. So you need to find a way to balance both the risk and the revenue or the value loss, potential value loss. And then once the AI notices this, it will trigger intervention. What that means is that it sends an alert to the customer experience team or customer service team to engage these customers based on, it would also recommend offers that they can use to engage these people, or in other cases, it can even send these retention offers itself. But I would say because of AI governance, it is very important that you don't allow your AI send things to people, to customers, there has to be a CS team to vet this, to serve as a guardrail, to ensure that what it is sending is safe to those customers. Because when you send the wrong offer, it would also snowball to your business. So it means that maybe you are sending an offer that is too valuable to a customer that is not just that much valuable. Or you are sending the wrong offer to the wrong customer, and the customer gets angry and it backfires and they churn. So, these things are a bit sensitive. You have to really, monitor them. So, I think this just expands a bit more on what we've spoken about. So, basically, the signals that we spoke about, this just breaks it down a bit more. So, behavioral. So, what that means is that if you're working in a bank, the login frequency could be how often do they log into the mobile app, which features do they use in that app, and how long session depth, how long did they stay in that app, right? Payment history, plan changes, invoice disputes. Those are the transactional. So basically, maybe if you're in the telecom, how often do they recharge? How much have they used within a certain period of time? Or how much revenue have you recognized from them? And if it's for relational, you're looking at the NPS score, the response time, SLA, and all of that, the customer support side of things. And for the contextual, you are looking at how long they've been with you, the tenure, what industry do they play in, and some of all of that. So basically, AI is not supposed to replace your team. Like I said, it's not even allowed to send things on its own. It can only send things to the team. It's what the team will just focus on, not guessing who is going to churn or not churn. AI will do all that dirty work. What the customer team will focus on is basically this insights AI has given me. Does it align with the business, my business understanding? Does it what signals is it saying that I should really look out for? What is it warning me about? And these are some of the things that it will make the customer success work more focused and create more value, basically, rather than spending their time guessing who will churn and who will not churn. Uh, Okay. So 6 levers to reduce churn right now. So basically, for a business, right, if you want to reduce churn, it has to start from onboarding, even before you got the customer into the base. So what this means is that you have to look at your customer and look at uh, I am onboarding these customers because I want to raise revenue. Is it because I want to raise revenue? Or do I want to increase customer satisfaction? Is that my goal? Or do I want, or am I onboarding them because of this particular product that I want to sell? Or am I onboarding them for volume? I need volume. So for some businesses, it could be that, look, I just want as much people in my base as possible in the early days. I don't mind if they churn. I just need them maybe because I want to get some form of funding, and I need to show that I have this pool of volume of customers. So basically, there are no right ways or wrong ways, but you need to have a priority or a reason around why you're onboarding your customers. Then when your customers have been onboarded, you deploy predictive alerts, right? If you cannot afford AI, or if you cannot afford to employ AI, or if you don't have the skill, you can start with typical business rules. Look out for the typical signals. For example, if your revenue drops below this, flag as potential risk. If maybe your usage drops below this, flagger. So you can start with things as simple as that. It doesn't really have to be AI, but at least have a form of check so that you can quickly spot that this customer is leaving before it happens. So reach out to customers before they cancel. So what that means is that make sure that each time before they're before their when you notice usage is going down, you reach out to them. When you notice that their expiry date for their subscription is upcoming, you reach out to them. When you notice that, oh, this customer has not bought something for me in a while, you reach out to them. So basically reach out to them from time to time so that they can feel respected and included in your business. Basically recover failed payments. So smart tuning and retry logic. This one works for maybe Apple, Netflix. So what that means, smart tuning means that, or tuning in itself means that you keep reminding a customer, right, that your subscription is going to end, and that basically letting them know before, sending reminders to them, basically. Then retry logic means that though this one I won't particularly advise it, but it just depends on the industry you're playing at. So what retry logic means is that if maybe for some reason the credit card fails, you can do it in a way that it automatically the following day it automatically tries to debit that credit card again. The third day it retries it again. The fourth day it retries it again. If all of this is allowed in the space you are working with, this is also a way to mitigate that a customer does not churn involuntarily. Then reward loyalty. If a customer has been with you for a while, then you should have packages. It's not just about join us and we give you this value. No, maybe you've been with us for a while. Why don't we give you this? Right. So maybe if you are in the telecom space, you've been with us for maybe 5 years. Let us reward you with maybe 50 gig of data. I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying that's how it works, but I'm just saying reward your loyal customers, because while you are rewarding them, and again, when you if you do things right, what you reward them with is even a fraction of the value you've gotten from them. Because if you've been cross-selling and upselling to them efficiently over the period of time, you have gotten a lot of value from them, that what you offer them would just be a fraction of what you've gotten from them over time. So it's very important to reward loyalty. And again, the churn surveys and NPS feedbacks, what customers think about your company, and the churn surveys, make sure that you act on it, feed it back into whatever model or approach you are using, so that you can be better as a business. Let people know what the people think about you as a business. So this is just a rough sketch. This is just saying that these are some of the metrics you check. The monthly churn. So before means that if you are not using maybe predictive analysis, or you're not using any form of um, approach to curb churn, say for example, before you have 6.2% monthly churn rate, right? 88% net revenue retention. So basically, this just means that the what percentage of contribution is your base contributing to your revenue. So that's what revenue retention means. Zero reactive, zero, meaning that the engagement is reactive only. It's when they churn that you notice and you start to react. So that's why you see zero here. But after, if you have a form of intervention to monitor churn and act on it, you can drastically reduce your monthly churn rate by half within the first few months. You can increase your net revenue retention from 88% to 109%. Yes, I know it's not double. Churn doesn't work that way. It's not like when you start churn, all of a sudden you start to see double your revenue or whatever. But at least you start to notice changes, very positive changes. And this is given that you are engaging them weekly. So weekly model driven, meaning that those at risk accounts, you are flagging them weekly before they even churn at all, and you engage them. So basically, this is just the first steps of churn reduction framework. So basically, audit your data, segment your customers, identify the root cause, identify why they are churning, build a scoring approach. It doesn't have to be an AI model. You can build a scoring approach yourself. Intervene, automatically target this retention strategies. Make sure you target these customers and measure. So you want to track their revenue, you want to track your churn rate, you want to track their lifetime value, and then you refine your process, your intervention process monthly. So that is how you can go about it. So these are the metrics that actually matter. So as a business, if I am, say, hiring a data scientist or I'm hiring a segments manager, right? I am not hiring you because I want to hear you tell me about F1 score or accuracy or recall or whatever those technical jargons that technical people talk about. I simply don't care about that as a business. What I care about is that whatever it is you've done, is it going to increase my revenue, gross revenue retention? So gross revenue retention is the baseline. So what this means is that I have not cross-sold or upsell to you. Is it going to increase my revenue without cross-selling or upselling? Then net revenue retention means that by the time I upsell and I start to expand, is it going to increase my revenue? Then the lifetime value to cost acquisition. I want to make sure that the value I am getting from you that I am retaining is more than how much I am spending to acquire you or to keep you in my base, by as much as for every whatever say it cost me 1,000 naira to acquire you, to keep you in my base, I have to be able to get at least 3,000 naira from you in value. That is why it says the ratio above 3.1 signals a healthy, efficient growth engine. It means I'm growing. But if the cost to acquire you is about the same thing as the value you're offering me, then you are not a valuable customer. And I either find a new strategy to keep you, or I simply, let you go, unfortunately. So that's how the business works. Now, the customer retention rate. What is my customer retention rate, right? Am I able? Okay. 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 All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So customer retention rate, basically increase your customer retention and reduce your churn rate, basically. So three things you can do before we go is that pull your churn number. So basically, you as a person calculate your monthly churn or your annual churn and see, because if you don't do this, you can't fix it. You can't fix what you can't measure. So know your leakage as a business. Segment your customers at risk accounts. So customers that are declining in usage and revenue. It's not just about revenue. Usage is also very important. Are they using your services? Right? You need to also segment them. Then pick one. Is it usage you want to target? Is it revenue you want to target? Make sure you focus on one, then expand from there. Don't try to focus on all the levers of churn at the same time, or else you get overwhelmed and it could backfire. So that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have questions, suggestions, observations, please go ahead and I would be glad to answer them. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that question, Michael. Yes, there is. I believe there is because, like you said, most people can simply not afford to go the route of the more complex approach. What you can do as a business is that everybody can do this. You can have a way to monitor your use. For example, it depends on the service you are offering or what your company offers. But I am looking at it in terms of a subscription and usage based organization, right? In that sense, you can monitor the usage of your, basically the usage of your customers. Is it dropping as compared to the revenue you are getting? Right. So revenue is the total amount of money that is coming in, plus the profit and plus how much you've spent to bring in that money. So you look at that too. Is it dropping? Your profits, or sorry, your revenue, what you made last month, month on month, is it reducing? Could it be that people have stopped purchasing a product? Which products have they stopped purchasing? Right. All of this can be done on Excel. Just basically what you've earned last month as a business, what you've earned this month as a business, find the variance. Look for the people that seem to have reduced in spending and try to engage these people. Look at the products that they stopped buying, engage them based on this. Basically, also track your subscription too. When somebody renews their subscription and you are not able to basically you're not able to subscribe to a service, the complaints is getting higher on your customer service guys, you need to engage. What is the percentage? Has there been a spike in customer complaints? Are people calling you more often complaining of the same products? So these are some of the things that you need to check. Or maybe a product that sells, say for example you are someone that sells maybe jewelries, but for some reason the particular product is not just moving. Generally you are selling, right? But a particular product that used to sell just stopped moving. You need to revisit that. Don't get carried away with everything is selling. So I'm fine business wise. Look at why that product is not selling and try to re-engage by doing surveys. And based on that, it would help you know how to nip that in the bud and prevent losing customers, because some customers might just go if that's the only product that they have interest in. So these are some of the ways that you can use as a you know without any technical or with little technical background to address churn, basically. Thank you. Thank you for that question again. Very, very strategic questions. So, first of all, if you want to use AI to do that, it is always data intensive. So what that means is that AI wants to assume that you already have some form of information about the new customers that you are onboarding, which in most cases, it's not really the case. However, large organizations have the leverage of engaging big organizations like the telco through APIs to try to have already some information. Maybe because telco has a lot of information about everybody, so basically those information they try to buy it from those organizations through their API gateway. And what AI now, once they buy it, what AI does is that it looks at that their who they say they are and does a form of just opposing with the base and the products that you have basically as a company, and uses that to do a one-to-one match. So if this is how you've been behaving from the data I bought from, say, telco or other organizations, how which of my products or the segments that use my products match, and uses that to recommend that I believe that this customer will be a valuable customer to my base. But if, like, most businesses, you don't have the luxury of paying for data, what you can do is you have to be very serious about, when you're onboarding, you have to be very serious about forms that they have to fill, information they have to fill. So it is through these informations they fill, through forms that you would use to look into your business and see if there are products there that you think they can key into, and so that is how it can work for small businesses also. Thank you.
Sorry, that was just a mistake. Sorry.